Greetings from the Burnsville Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us for one of our Meet the Candidate programs. Today, we are here meeting the candidates for Minnesota House District 52A. And with that, I'll turn it over to our moderator and chair of the Burnsville Chamber Public Policy Committee, Brady Folkstead.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. Again, I am Brady Folkstead, and I'll be moderating our Get to Know the Candidates Forum here for 52A. Just a descriptor for those that are watching. 52A is northwest Burnsville. So you're going to be in Burnsville or northeast Burnsville. If you're east of County Road 11, east of Slater Road and or north of Cliff Road, this is going to be your district. You can always look that up on Find My Polling Place as well on the Secretary of State's website. So I'd encourage you to do that. Joining us today, we have Representative Liz Reyer as well as Diane Anderson that are vying for this spot. With that, just so everybody knows, the candidates did receive the questions in advance, and we have randomized who will be starting and how we'll be rotating. But first, what we'd like to do is just hear a little bit from the candidates themselves and get to know them a little bit better. So Diane, you're going to be first. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to run for office.
Thank you. I'm Diane Anderson, and I'm running for the Minnesota House in District 52A, which includes parts of Eagan and Burnsville. I've been married for 35 years, and I've enjoyed living in Eagan since 1989. I was elected to the State House in 2010 and served for one term from 2011 to 2012. It was truly an honor to serve in the state legislature to represent you and your interests. As a state representative, I was a member on the Health and Human Services Finance Committee, Commerce and Regulatory Reform Committee, and the Judiciary Policy and Finance Committee. I learned a lot about and worked a lot on our health and human services policies and focused on issues regarding mental illness. I advocated to help people that are homeless. I chief authored a bill that passed to appropriate money for emergency services grants and transitional housing. My knowledge and experience on the Commerce Committee will be very beneficial to help businesses and to help grow jobs. I'm running to improve our economy and cost of living, provide quality education with a focus on academics, provide safety for our communities, reduce crime, work to get rid of wasteful government spending and fraud, and help the homeless. I have a lot of experience with drafting and getting bills passed. For 30 years, I was a volunteer citizen advocate. I have the ability to work with legislators from both parties to get an agreement on legislation. I love our community, but things are changing and not for the better. Our economy is bad and our cost of living is continually going up. The increase in government spending, high taxes, and unnecessary mandates has caused high inflation. Last year, the Minnesota state budget was increased by nearly 40%, which is unsustainable. Democrats spent the entire $18 billion surplus and raised taxes by over $10 billion, mostly hurting those least able to pay. The current DFL politicians in St. Paul that control the Minnesota House and Senate have passed dozens of laws that raise your taxes, make us less safe, make Minnesota an unaffordable state for people to live. I have the experience, qualifications, knowledge, and leadership abilities to best represent you.
Thanks, Diane. And now over to Liz. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to run for office. I'm going to have you grab your mute button, please.
All these years on Zoom, my apologies. I'm Liz Reyer. I represent District 52A, which includes parts of Burnsville and Eagan. And I want to thank the Burnsville Chamber of Commerce for this forum. And Diane, thanks to you too for participating. I'm a longtime Eagan resident. I've served in the House of Representatives for 4 years, married with adult kids and 1 granddaughter. I've overcome adversity, including domestic violence, which I survived thanks to public programs and support from my community. Beyond my own experience, I've always been motivated by a desire for fairness. Ensuring equity and justice is our path to success as a society. To give back, I've volunteered in our schools and local organizations and spoken out against racial and social injustice. Professionally, I've spent 35 years in the business world in companies large and small. In my research, leadership coaching, and project roles, I've successfully helped solve problems and drive business success. These factors came together in my first house race in 2020. Using my professional skills for broader benefit, my passion for equity, and my personal journey fueled me then and continues to be my driving motivation. I've had successful sessions serving on the health committee for 4 years, a good fit for a former Blue Cross employee in Eagan. I'm vice chair of the Capital Investment Committee and have served on the workforce and economic development committees, among others. The 23-24 legislative session invested Minnesota's budget surplus carefully. Companies need a well-educated and stable workforce and public infrastructure to grow their businesses. To ensure this, we made needed investments in education, transportation, housing, public safety, and infrastructure, and passed the largest tax cut in Minnesota history. Businesses thrive when people thrive. The policies I create and advocate for improve Minnesota's health, benefit the economy, and help build a prosperous future. I'm eager to continue making a positive difference for our community.
And thank you, Liz. As we rotate here, Liz is going to be up next here. It is the Chamber of Commerce. We are pro-business and represent businesses in our area. The question to you is, do you consider yourself a pro-business candidate? And if so, or if not, what do you believe pro-business means to you? Over to Liz.
Well, there's no question that I'm pro-business. Because of businesses of all kinds, society is able to have its needs and wants met. I'm the daughter of a pharmacist, a small business owner. I've worked in all sorts of sectors: restaurants, nursing homes, hospitals, even temporary day labor before my professional career. And I've seen that having good employees is the key to success. Businesses know this too, and businesses know they depend on public investments to thrive. So to me, being pro-business means we're pro-community so that all can benefit from policy decisions and investments. Pro-business is supporting workers so they can bring their best selves to work. Education, healthcare, paid leave programs, transportation, and working effectively with business, regulators, and our labor partners. Pro-business is making investments in community infrastructure like roads, bridges, ports, waste and drinking water, and housing. It's supporting good businesses and holding rogue businesses accountable, having fair labor practice and business ethics so that good businesses can stand up and do great work and be rewarded for that. And it's making space for new entries into markets, especially communities that have been excluded from investment. Pro-business is also about behavior and relationships. My door is always open, and I visit regularly with businesses in my communities and in sectors I'm active in, like healthcare and human services across the state. And I participate in events for multiple chambers and always am in dialogue with the chambers. I'm proud of the successful relationships I've forged with the business community and can look forward to continuing that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Diane, now over to you. Do you consider yourself a pro-business candidate? And what does being a pro-business candidate mean to you?
I'm the pro-business candidate and have a strong voting record of supporting businesses. The policies I voted for as a state legislator improved job growth in Minnesota and provided a better business climate. Because of my great voting record in 2012, I was endorsed by many business organizations and received the NFIB Guardian of Small Business Award. I was on the Commerce and Regulatory Committee, and I have a lot of experience dealing with issues in regards to businesses. When I was a state representative, I met with many business owners and talked to them about their issues. I chief authored and got passed legislation to help businesses. I supported legislative policies that help businesses to grow. I will work to grow jobs in Minnesota. We have a big problem in Minnesota with thousands of people, and many businesses are leaving our state. We are losing people who own small businesses. Delta Airlines left Minnesota for a state for lower because of the other state had lower taxes. Many people in Eagan and high-paying jobs that were lost because Delta Airlines moved their headquarters to another state. I care about making sure we have quality jobs in Minnesota and people are not losing their jobs because businesses are leaving our state. Being pro-business means that we improve the business climate so jobs can grow. It is hard for companies to grow when our state government keeps adding to their cost of doing business. I understand that too much government interference hinders our economic growth and stifles jobs. We need to reduce unnecessary regulations and streamline the business permit process. We should support new businesses so they can start up in Minnesota and provide more jobs. We need to provide tax reforms to improve our job growth. Minnesota's taxes are high compared to other states. Minnesota has the highest state in corporate taxes. Minnesota is the sixth highest state for income taxes. And Minnesota doesn't just tax the rich. Minnesota's starting tax rate of personal income is at 5.35%, which is higher than in 23 other states. We must change our state policies to encourage job growth in Minnesota rather than chasing good jobs out of our state.
Thank you. Now the next one, schools. As business owners and businesses in Burnsville, strong schools are a cornerstone of our strong communities. The last couple of sessions, we've made historic investments into our public school system. And yet this year, there are many schools in our area that are out for additional levies for funding shortfalls. Do you consider schools to be fully funded? Or do you believe that the increased mandates of the last couple of years have caused some of the funding shortfalls in our public schools? Diane, you first.
Our schools need to provide quality education and ensure academic excellence. Let's have schools that teach students the basics so they can succeed in whatever job they choose. Employers value a well-educated workforce. When I was in the State House, we made K-12 funding a top priority and passed legislation to increase education funding for our local school districts by $212 per student in Independent School District 191 and $166 per student in School District 196. So I support making sure schools have the money they need from the state budget. I do not consider schools to be fully funded. I believe that the increased state mandates on schools are a factor for the lack of school funding needed from the state. According to MinPost, the DFL majority imposed more than 65 new mandates on our schools at a cost of more than $1 billion, and many of the mandates are unfunded by the state. The DFL plan to offer more mandates than money is shortchanging our schools and forcing higher property taxes. Our schools need funding that is fair and flexible, and we must reduce our reliance on local levies to meeting the obligation to educate our children. Our local schools need flexibility to use their funding in a way that works for their own district instead of subjected to a one-size-fits-all mandate. You will never fully fund schools when you push more mandates than money. Our schools need funding that is fair and flexible, and then we need to trust that educators working with their local elected school boards will meet the needs of their students without micromanaging from the legislature. Another big concern is we need to reverse the downward proficiency trend in student test scores. Literacy rates have fallen by 16%, math is down 17%, and science is down 23%. Students need to get caught up after years of learning loss. I support local control of our schools. Local school boards with input from parents should have the decision-making power of what happens in our schools. In the last two sessions, under full Democrat control, the state has taken away decision-making power from local educators and school boards.
Thank you. Now, Liz, over to you. Same question. Businesses want strong schools. They want a great workforce that way. A lot of investment, but still levies out there. What do you think some of the root causes of that are, and are schools fully funded as necessary?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for how you positioned the question when you sent it in advance, that strong public schools are a cornerstone of our communities. That is so true, and it's so important. My family and I were all public school kids, and I'm just such an advocate for making sure we're resourcing them appropriately. So let's have some context here first. Minnesota is fairly unusual among states in that about 80% of our funding comes from the state rather than local levies. And for the past 20 years, the state contribution, we've been underfunding the schools. In 3 of those years, they had a 0% increase. So as naturally costs rose, schools could not keep up, and the hole got deeper and deeper and deeper. In 2023, we made a historic $2.2 billion investment. It carries forward into the future, And importantly, we index the future years to inflation so that school boards and superintendents can depend on the funding that's coming. This filled about a third of the existing hole. We help by boosting funding for the special education and English language cross subsidies. So honestly, schools are not yet fully funded, but we are making meaningful progress. So now about the levies. I represent 3 districts. 2 of them, 196 and 197, do not have levies this year. Burnsville has a ballot item to continue its tech levy, which doesn't raise taxes. It maintains current programs. And I looked further. Lakeville has a levy on the ballot, and on their webpage, they note the levies needed because there's been no increase in funding to account for inflation. I've seen no direct evidence or concern from districts that I've looked at. And note the READ Act, the UI expansion, and the meals program all included funding, and we'll keep monitoring ongoing needs.
Thank you. All right, and now being a business forum, we're going to follow up with a nice tax question here. As sent out there, the budget forecast shows that state spending growth has been outpacing our revenue. 2025, the year coming up here, is a budget year. How do we plan on handling this imbalance during the upcoming legislative session? And Liz, that'll be for you to start off.
Yeah. So we are actually in a strong position going into the 25-26 biennium. There is a projected structural imbalance where expenses for the time period are expected to exceed revenue. In February, the last official forecast, $636 million structural imbalance was forecast for fiscal years 26 and 27, $636 million. Well, in the 2024 session, we intentionally left $2.45 billion on the bottom line for fiscal year 26 and 27, almost $2.5 billion, knowing that we had that structural imbalance. So because of this fiscal discipline, we're very likely to avoid budget cuts for existing programs, and we increased our ability to have confidence in these estimates by requiring inflation to be accounted for in state budget forecasts. We're also mindful of the use of one-time surplus funds versus ongoing. In particular, we were careful to use the one-time funds of about $12 billion of the $17.5 billion for one-time uses like capital investment, the $2.6 billion bonding bill, public safety funding to communities to use as they saw fit, workforce and economic development programs, replacing landfill funds, an important issue here in Burnsville when those funds had been depleted back about 20 years ago, one-time housing support, and checks direct to Minnesotans. So I'm feeling confident about the state of the budget entering the 25-26 session. Depending on resources, a top priority for me would be return having regular bonding bills, which help local communities preserve state resources and create good paying jobs.
Thank you. And Diane, now over to you. We've got a imbalance here, and 2025 is a budget year. How do you plan on handling that imbalance?
Well, when I was a state legislator, we had a $6.2 billion deficit, and we turned it into a $1.2 billion surplus without raising taxes. The unemployment rate went from 8% in March of 2010 to 5% in May of 2012. We reduced regulations, changed policies that encourage job growth, and streamlined the business permitting process, and Dakota County gained 12,000 new jobs. Tax revenues increased from the new jobs. In contrast, my opponent has been in office for 4 years, and this is the worst economy that we've had in 40 years. Democrat policies, high taxes, mandates, and high spending cause our high cost of living and bad economy. We are losing jobs out of our state. Last year, the Democrats had an out-of-control spending. They spent the entire budget surplus and raised taxes on Minnesotans by $10 billion. They grew the state budget by nearly 40%, and we just can't have that type of a high budget increase. So when I'm in office, I'm going to work to make sure that we have it's our economy to lower government spending and taxes. We increased spending on education, health, and human services, and we kept spending low on the other budget areas. We did not raise taxes. I believe people should keep more of their hard-earned money so they have more money to spend on what they need. I will invest in families instead of government. We increase jobs by reducing regulations and improving the permit process, and I will support state policies that encourage job creation and economic growth. I will work to help stop the government fraud we have in Minnesota and hold accountable both the agencies and the criminals responsible. Democrats have proven that they are not serious about controlling fraud, and there's been numerous reports from the nonpartisan legislative auditor detailing failures to stop fraud and wasteful spending by several agencies. I've always been a problem solver, and when I'm a state representative, Minnesota's economy improved. I will help build a prosperous state and turn our economy around.
Okay, thank you. Coming into the second to the last question here. Again, another business question. The last legislative session, and after that, small businesses have been struggling to understand and implement a myriad of new workplace mandates from the past 2 years. If elected, would you consider alleviating some of this stress on small businesses? And if so, what would your plan be to do that? And Diane, that'll be over to you.
So I'm a strong supporter of small businesses, and I received the NFIB Guardian of a Small Business Award. Small businesses provide jobs for many people. When the legislature passes a law, they need to take into consideration the impact that law will have. So I hope it's not the intention of the Democrats to cause small businesses to go out of business. I will work with small businesses to understand the impact of implementing the workforce mandates from the past 2 years. Small businesses will need some relief from the burdensome government mandates. I will work to balance the needs of the people with the impacts that this will have on the small businesses. I will look for ways to pay for these programs in a way that they are not going to harm small businesses. Not all businesses can absorb new costs the same. Large Fortune 500 businesses have no issue absorbing the cost of some of these new mandates, but small Main Street businesses often don't have the infrastructure or financial ability to comply with all these new regulations. I would explore exempting certain small businesses from erroneous mandates. Another option would be to provide financial relief by having tax savings or grants to help cover the costs of implementing these mandates. Some of the expenses of the program might need to be covered by the state of Minnesota. Another option would be for the employees to enroll in a program that is run and paid for by the state. So I'm willing to work with small business owners to come up with solutions to best deal with the workplace mandates from the past 2 years so that no small business will have to go out of business.
And thank you. And Liz, now over to you. New mandates over the last couple of years. We've heard many struggles. How would you consider alleviating? Or and if you would, how would you do that?
Thank you. And you broke up a little bit, so can you please confirm that my bandwidth is all right? You can hear me okay?
We can hear you okay, yep.
So I recognize that some of these programs are a big change. I've led major change management initiatives on the corporate side, and I know that you have to support and bring people along to make sure that they are set up to succeed. And as always, I have an open door for people to say, here are some specific challenges. Here are specific solutions that we think would be good for us and for others. But I'd like to reframe the question just a little bit because I've also heard from many small providers who are welcoming programs like the paid family medical leave. Competition for employees is fierce, and small businesses are at a competitive disadvantage with many of the large companies like the Fortune 500s who are already providing these services and attracting the best employees. This is fundamentally unfair to small and emerging businesses. So since we're just starting here in Minnesota, I looked at other states to see how state-run programs are going. Benefits have included lower turnover costs, higher productivity and morale. For example, 6.8% greater profit per FTE. In other states, in New Jersey, New Jersey businesses have said they've had little trouble adjusting. So we do need to set up the program so businesses can succeed, and we've been doing that. If you look at Minnesota paid leave, Google that, you can get the website, and we're doing things like aligning the quarterly reporting with the unemployment insurance reporting, having materials to inform and educate employees for the employers to use. They don't have to design their own. And being able to submit and be in dialogue to help get your problem solved, coaching and support. So policy is iterative. We need to learn and do and learn and do, just like in business, and we will continue to strengthen and enhance these.
All right, thank you. And again, thank you both. Now, closing remarks, Liz, it'll be first over to you. 52A and Burnsville, why are you the best candidate to represent that area?
Well, I'm proud of my track record in the House in the past 4 years. I've proven my ability to work across the aisle to pass bipartisan legislation. I've proven my ability to bring people together on critically important issues like consumer and medical debt reform. And critics and allies alike acknowledge my work ethic, my ability to dig into issues and negotiate successful compromises. Burnsville has many strengths. We have excellent leadership, a strong business climate, and an increasingly diverse population. But we have challenges too. Our infrastructure, including our water treatment plant, is aging, and we need to continue to build our workforce. In my first 4 years, I've delivered on these needs. I've helped fund projects like the bridge over Nicollet Avenue, Highway 13, improved access to affordable healthcare, and funded workforce and business development programs. If reelected, I'll continue to work hard, find common ground, stand up for our values, and do good work. Learn more about me and my priorities. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And now, Diane, let us know why you would be best to represent 52A and this section of Burnsville.
Well, thank you to the Burnsville Chamber for their work with this candidate forum, and thank you for watching this broadcast. To learn more about me, please go to my website at dianeandersonforhouse.com. I would like to represent you again in our state house. I'm the best candidate to improve our economy, lower your cost of living, lower inflation, not raise your taxes, and reduce the out-of-control spending. When I was a state representative, I improved the job climate in Minnesota and lowered unemployment. My opponent has been in office for 4 years, and this is the worst economy in 40 years. We can't elect the same person and expect different results. The Democrats want you to believe that they're doing a great job. However, their policies, high taxes, mandates, and high spending caused your high cost of living. This election should be about which candidate will do the best to fix our bad economy. We cannot afford my opponent because the economy will only get worse. We must change who represents us in St. Paul. I'm Diane Anderson, and I'm asking for your vote for State Representative of House District 52A.
All right. Well, thank you both very much. Again, for those watching, this is Burnsville Chamber's Get to Know the Candidate Forum for House District 52A. Thank you both, Diane and Liz Reyer, for joining us today. We appreciate it very much. Everybody can remember November 5th is a great day to go out, and you have to vote by then. However, early voting is starting actually next week. So take a look at your city hall and make sure that you get in to vote at a time that works for you and with your voting plan. Again, thank you. I'm Brady Folkestad with the Public Policy Committee, and back to Jennifer.
Thank you, Brady, our volunteer public policy chair and moderator for these programs. And thank you to the candidates for participating today. We appreciate your service. As Brady said, please use the Minnesota Secretary of State website to find out what's on your ballot and where your polling place is, all your good voting information. And please follow the Burnsville Chamber on our YouTube page for these videos on Facebook or the Chamber website for more Chamber information, and have a great Chamber of Commerce Day. Thank you.
Thank you.